Well, welcome to our Go Moment today. I want to introduce you to Theresa and Bob Carberry.
Hello.
Hello.
They've been attending Christian Life Center for, we decided, 15 years. It's so funny. Everybody's like, I got to think about this. But this is a special Go Moment for me because of when I think of the Carberrys, I think of those people that endure through lots of ups and downs to continue to walk out the mission. These two have been very involved in life group for ever since you've been coming here at Christian Life Center. And I got to think of this. It's like here's a couple Hall of Famers for you. When I looked up what describes a Hall of Famer, like in Football Hall of Fame and Music Hall of Fame, it's kind of a recommendation that they do. They have to be kind of retired for 5 years, which doesn't apply here. Right. But it really is like a recommendation. And when I think about you, I would say for Christian Life Center, you have that Hall of Famer kind of relationship here because you've really plowed the ground for life groups. And so we want to take a look at that today. They're both still active in it. But I want them to tell you about their beginnings, because if there's anything about living the mission, is perseverance. And when I think of these two, I think of perseverance in doing life groups. So tell us, your story is great about how you got into a life group and why you are. They're coaches today, by the way. They are coaches for our life groups. They're actively doing a life group. They train people for life groups. And so they speak with great understanding of the life and ministry of our small groups here. So go ahead now.
Well, for us, life groups started before we got married. We met in a church prior to coming here, and I was in a men's group and Theresa was in a women's group there. And so that's where we got our first taste of life groups. Yeah. And it was really great for me particularly at a very difficult time in my life. So I was really appreciative of it. We married in 2003 and our plan wasn't to stay in this area. My business was down in Delaware, so
we're going to head off, huh?
We're heading off, but the Lord changed that, and He made it available for me to stay up here and not have Theresa relocate. And so, long story short, we came to Christian Life Center, and it wasn't short after that they announced something about a connection event down in the gym, which is the
now the Family Life Center.
The Family Life Center was the gym back in those days, and so I said to Theresa, let's go see how they do small groups here, but let's not get involved. Well, that changed because we went there, and when we came out of that meeting, I was a leader of a new group.
So you're recruited a leader at the very first meeting.
Yeah. So from that point, we just loved life groups. We started a group of about 12. It grew rapidly to 20-some people. It multiplied a few times over the course of a few years, but no matter who was in our group, we just really created great relationships within those groups. And
when your groups multiplied like that, as the leader of the group, did you actually really see people? Did you encourage people? Did you see that gifting on someone like, you know what, I think you need to start a group? Like, how did you approach those people that you saw?
Well, I got to tell you, in the beginning, it was difficult because it's not an easy thing to do that.
Yeah.
And I fumbled my way through it. But I've learned a lot over the years. And the Lord showed me that it's, He asks us to love on people.
Yeah.
And the people that I always thought might be good leaders were not necessarily the ones that were the good leaders. My recommendation is look for the people in your group that have the love of Christ, that just want to share with people and be with people and help people. Those are the people that most likely will be that future leader of that group. And so
that's very insightful, because I do believe that love is a very powerful force for change, right? And when you love people, you kind of stay open to the process of their growth. But if you're really looking for someone to do a job, you're kind of sometimes looking for qualifications.
Yes.
And in life group ministry, they're not always readily available. You can teach people qualities, qualifications, some skills. That's why we do an orientation, right?
Right.
You put a lot of time into training and teaching new leaders through your ministry here at Christian Life Center and trained up a lot of folks. But I think that is one quality we can't train for, is, a life that wants to please God and serve and love others.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very good insight.
Yep. Yeah.
So when did you, get more involved then after? So you started leading these groups, you started seeing leaders and kind of, doing your thing. When did you come on board to develop more processes for Christian Life Center in their small group ministry?
That goes all the way back to Pastor John days, John Rotz. And I was a leader for maybe not even a year, and he was approaching me to be a coach. And I was one of a handful of guys. He had no coaches back then.
Yeah.
It was just him. And so he picked a handful of guys, and Jason is one of those as well, original guys. And I really got into that because it's so much like my business in training. So I just gravitated towards it. So
and you saw the need for it too.
Saw the
right?
need for it too.
Yeah.
Absolutely, especially with new leaders. They need a coach by their side to help them get started and get moving and just feel really comfortable with how group's going to go.
Yeah, it can be an intimidating thing. Like you can really have it in your heart to lead a group. I don't know if you're aware, but I do oversee the life groups here at Christian Life Center. Some of you know, some of you don't. And Bob and Theresa have been so great to have on board because of your history and understanding. It is amazing, though, how life groups have kind of evolved over the years, I would say. And what do you think the biggest change is? If you were to look at small groups today back to when you started, let me ask you this. Let me ask you two questions. What do you think is the most significant thing that keeps life groups steady? And what do you think the most significant changes in small groups right now?
I'll start with the second one first.
Yeah,
I think technology, with this pandemic we're going through and the different ways that we do groups today is the big change.
Yes.
But the core values, I think, don't change. What I've found, you can go back to the earlier days, because we used to go out for training every year out to Willow Creek. And every year there would be a new model. We're going to do community groups, or we're going to do neighborhood groups, or it would just change from year to year. And that was one thing I was like, wow, it's a totally different plan from last year. But the cores don't change.
Yes.
Growing groups, excuse me?
The SAM.
Yeah, the SAM, spiritual formation, authentic relationships, and missional living.
Yeah.
Those cores don't change. And just loving on people.
Yeah.
And helping them grow in Christ and then get out there, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah.
I think one change I've seen is the emphasis from staying together for long periods to, having the shorter, maybe semester groups and being able to change it up a little bit. Although there's value in both of those, I think the emphasis now is more on, we're not going to stay together for the rest of our lives, although we'll be very good friends. We have friends that are, were with us when we very first came. In fact, a couple just came back to our group.
Is that right?
Two people just came back to our group. But that's what I see as a big change, is the emphasis is not on let's stay together forever, but more let's maybe multiply and get more people involved.
So what would you say, like I know personally when it comes to group life, there's some things that I think are really important to understand the purpose of the groups. And in recent information and studies of groups, now that life groups has been a big part of the church for a good 20 years, where, there are churches that have been doing it longer, but where we know how necessary it is. What would you say the purpose of your group is? Why do you do a life group? Why did you want to be part of a life group?
Well, I think Theresa hit it on the head with SAM. Growing in the Word is the spiritual formation. It's an acronym of SAM. Building those authentic relationships with like-minded people. And then the third one, which was, we did a study on this years ago, which is the hardest one to do, the missional living part. And that's reaching outside of your group or yourselves and doing something for other people. Whether they're in the church or in your neighborhood, as a group together or individually throughout your group. So we stress those 3 points in all of our groups from day one. It's a three-phase component.
Yeah.
And we wanted to get into small groups because this is such a big church, right?
Yes.
And we felt like we were coming and we were loving it. We weren't getting involved, because
Yeah.
we were very involved in our old
Didn't
church.
feel connected.
Yeah, but we really didn't feel connected. And
Yeah.
then, the big church got a lot smaller when we joined a small group, and we felt like we belonged, so.
Well, thank you so much for all your years of service, and I can't thank you enough for the track that you laid so that train could run. And what I really love about this guy is he just isn't going to quit. You just believe so wholeheartedly in life groups, and we've made some changes even because of our technology and our environment and a changing culture a little bit. We tend to have to do things a little simpler for people because our culture is changing and people are busier, and it's we have to make it easy for people to connect, whereas before, we could provide some other means, more training and things like that. And now what we're really finding is if people are really hungry for the word, and just like you said, if they really have a heart for God, let's not have to make them wait. Let's be able to do something more quickly and engage people. So I just want to put out to you today that if you've been thinking about life groups, if you're looking for a place to connect and fit in, we live in this culture where it's not always easy now to gather together. And we don't know how the future is going to look there, but one thing we know for certain is we will always be gathering together as believers in Christ and have this need for one another. So if you see this guy in the hallways of Christian Life Center, or even to me, and you're interested and want to find out more about what is this small group thing, how could I lead a small group, what's the value of a small group, really tell me more about your story, please reach out to Bob. He loves to talk about groups. He's a valuable resource for us. He's a great coach, and he can train you. He does our orientations. We actually there's 8 coaches. And Bob just is really passionate about the word too. So get to know these guys. They would love to get to know you. Another thing I wanted to say that 15 years, our last go moment was with Carla Hoff. She was here 15 years. I think it's so important we understand the power of persevering in our faith and what God has called us to do. We don't always know the people that we affect or the impact we have, because our job is just to keep going with preaching the gospel. And so thank you for your testament, thank you for your story, and thank you for persevering.
Thank you for your leadership.
Yeah, thank
Hall
you.
of Famers. All right. God bless.
Thank you.
See you next
Thank
time.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.